Hey everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Saga, where we dive into all the stories beyond the Skywalker saga in the books, the comics, video games. And on this episode, we are talking about Jedi Battle Scars, the novel in the Star Wars Jedi series. I am David Cowdy, and we're with Hannah Burr. How are you, Hannah?
I am well, and how are you?
Doing good. We will be talking heavily here in the next episode, I'm sure, about Jedi Survivor.
Yes.
Which is the video game that came out. And really cool for Lucasfilm to put a novel out that takes place between the two games. The two games are separated by about 5 years. And this book takes place in between. So, written by Sam Maggs, came out about a month and a half before the game. So, if you were able to dive into this book, you kind of got a really good backstory of where our crew was before we get into the game. And of course, when I talk about crew, we're talking about Cal Kestis, our Jedi survivor from Order 66. You've got Cere, Cere, and Greez, and Merrin. And of course, you got the friendly little droid BD-1. So overall, Hannah, I know you've already also dived into the storyline for Survivor, so it actually took me a bit to separate the two because I was listening to this novel at the same time I was playing the game.
Can't imagine.
So I actually had to stop playing the game and finish the novel because I was starting to get the storylines crossed. But without doing so, what did you think about this novel?
I feel like the biggest thing about this novel that stuck out to me right away is that it feels very much like a gameplay novel, meaning you feel like you're reading, or if you do audio, you feel like you're listening to someone playing a game. There is a clear story, but not until you get quite a number of scenes in, and you get different people's perspectives. You get like kind of side quests from each character, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, especially with this book specifically because it does take place in between two games.
Yeah.
I was concerned that this was a book that you absolutely had to read before playing the game. It's not, but it does explain a couple of things that may seem off when you first play Jedi Survivor. But basically, we're following our favorite crew as they infiltrate a base, and then they choose to save this stormtrooper. The stormtrooper whose name is Fret, who becomes romantically involved with Merrin.
Yes.
But Fret spreads this word to them about something called the Shroud that would give them quite an advantage over the Empire. It's basically a form of cloaking device. It would be a game changer. Problem is, Empire's also looking for it. So then they're on a quest to find it. And I'll kind of leave it at that because at that point on, there are spoilers here and there. But overall, I've thoroughly enjoyed the book. I think it was a fun read. The fact that it did, as I said before, it felt like you were watching or indulging in a gameplay just made it very unique. It was very different. So some people might not like that. I personally did, especially as I said before, in the context of the fact that it's connecting two games. I think it did a lot of character revelation. Like Cal becomes, even though he was very human in Fallen Order, he starts experiencing feelings that he's never experienced before, like jealousy. So that's been kind of interesting to explore. We see Cere really solidifying what she wants, but we also see what her downfalls are with regards to her compassion and her desire to save everybody. We see Greez starting off being like I'll do whatever it takes to help everyone, and then he kind of forms into this every man for himself mentality. So that's an interesting change in pace. And then Merrin, we just see her trying to figure out this new relationship and also deal with heartbreak, but I won't say how. So I think all of that to say is that it's an emotional ride, but it feels like you're playing a game.
Definitely does.
What are your overall thoughts of it? That was kind of a ramble tangent.
No, that's good. I feel the same way. I think it was a really good story. I think it, when I playing the game, because I started playing the game before I finished the book, there was definitely some questions I had starting the game that I was like, wow, what happened? Because and we'll get into the game a little bit more, but when you start the game, the crew isn't there. So this actually does a good job of explaining where you are at the beginning of the game.
Yes.
Like you said, you don't need to know. You kind of learn it a little bit as you go through the game, but there's a lot of history in this book that explains a lot of how those characters are feeling when you get to that storyline in Jedi Survivor. The one thing that this book definitely does is it really tests, like you said, Cal Kestis. And what I mean by test it very much feels like you said, like he's playing a game, like he's trying to accomplish things as you would in a game.
Even going into their powers, the way it's described and their side comments of, I can only do this once. It's like, oh, shoot, that feels very much like a video game.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Even their conversations that they have it felt like the cutscenes of the game. So it was laid out really well. I thought that was really well. I don't know if it was intentional by Sam Maggs, but it felt very much like an adaptation of a game that if you were to play Battle Scars and then read the book, this is kind of what you would get. You know what I'm saying? So so I really liked that aspect of it. I loved how he was able to do that. The villain in this was a very known villain. Obviously, Fifth Brother has been around for a while now. We've seen him in Rebels and live action. We saw him in Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it wasn't a new villain, but one that we're very aware of and very familiar with, which I thought it was fine. Would it have worked with a newer person? Probably.
I don't think it would have, because the thing is that how do I say this without spoiling too much? In one scene in particular, he's in trouble. He's in deep trouble. So then the question is, okay, how does he get out of this? Because we know he survives.
Yes.
So how does he get out of this? And then I don't think you necessarily, I personally didn't expect what happened next. So I feel like if you did a new character, then I guess it would be a bigger twist. But the fact that it is Fifth Brother, it leaves you questioning more of, wait, what's happening? Because, I thought he was going to die. And I was like, okay, that's a huge continuity error here, Star Wars. What are you doing?
Yeah, can't do that. Yeah, and I'm curious if this takes place before or after Obi-Wan Kenobi. I
would love to know that too, especially, I feel like I wonder if this takes place the book. I wonder if it goes the book, Obi-Wan, and then Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably.
I feel like that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I do want to throw this out there, like with the whole idea of you don't have to read this book to understand what happens in the game. I think like that's actually a huge compliment to the book, personally, because I feel like with so much nowadays, here's the thing, like with movies like Rise of Skywalker, you have to read the novelization of Rise of Skywalker, and you also have to read Shadow of the Sith to make you go, oh, okay, the sequels are good. Now the sequels make sense. This novel doesn't do that. This novel doesn't have to fill in any gaps. It's just, hey, if you want a little bit of a better understanding of what's going on, enjoy, but you don't have to. It's not a homework assignment. It's not a requirement. It's not a prerequisite course you have to take.
True. That's for sure.
I think that's a huge compliment to pay towards it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. I think that it looks like I'm looking on here right now. It does look like it probably does take place before Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it looks like the fifth brother deals with Cal Kestis first, and then eventually goes with the Grand Inquisitor to Tatooine and searching for Jedi.
There you go.
I think that's what it looks like how they laid it out. Okay. Impact on Star Wars Saga, the timeline is how relevant is this?
It's relevant in the sense of it helps with a couple of things, but it's also not relevant. And when I say not relevant, I mean you don't have to read it to understand what's going on. Yeah. I feel like that's the key word to relevant is if you want to understand what's going on, if you want pieces to the puzzle, you have to read it. That's not the case with this book, but I would encourage you to at least try. Once again, it's a very unique style of writing. It's not a typical book. It just isn't. Mm-hmm. It looks like it. It quacks like one, but it's not a duck. It's not a typical novel. Mm-hmm. So at least try it. And if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. You're not missing out on crucial information.
Right.
But it is a fun read if you can get by that.
Yes, I agree. Very enjoyable. Very fun read. Get a little bit more of these characters, but not essential. Definitely not essential. The game is essential, which we'll get into next time.
Next time on Beyond the Saga.
That's right. Let's rate this thing. Where's your rating fall?
I'll give it a solid 4 because and that is a bit of a biased score because once again I loved it. I loved the fact that it, whether it was intentional or not, I don't care. It took on that spin of, hey, this is a video game book. And I loved it.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'll give it a 4 as well. It was not, jaw-dropping or completely mind-blowing, but enjoyable. Enjoyable that it's really up there on the scale.
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
And there's still twists and turns that you don't see coming, but it's not like you audibly gasp type of moment.
Yeah. Not like Jedi Survivor.
Oh, yeah, that. Oh, I can't wait until we talk about that.
Which we'll get into that next time. All right. Thanks, everybody, for checking this out. Go get Battle Scars if you want to check out that storyline. It is out on your shelves, and also the audio book is out there on Audible or anywhere you listen to audiobooks, it's pretty well done. It's not, I listen to all these. I can't remember who narrated it, but it's not your normal Mark Thompson narrator. So it's good. But he does a good job of mimicking the voices still of the characters, which is really good. Because it is a great ensemble cast of characters from the game.
Yes.
So, thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, Dave.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time on Beyond the Saga. Go to InsideTheForce.com if you want to check out where our podcast feed is for that. And this episode, as well as all of our other shows, are on youtube.com/InsideTheForce. We'll be back for more Beyond the Sagas very soon. Take care. We'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.